Five Nights at Marcus. This is a series of FNAF fan games all on Roblox that contain 3 different entries. And some of y'all have probably heard of one of them, Far From Land. And it's that one FNAF game that takes place on a ship. Well, apparently what I had failed to realize is that this is actually the 3rd game in this series and not a standalone game. So with that being said, I had the bright idea to cover all the games in this series in one huge video. If you're interested in seeing how one rogue robot ruined an entire company, then join me in the deep dive into the most horrifying FNAF series on Roblox. I really hope y'all enjoy. Starting off with the first game, Five Nights at Marcus 1. And in this game, you work as a night guard for Marcus Robotics Incorporated. So in this factory, we as the night guard have to keep track of all the new robots that this company has developed. By the way, they're actually called robots in this game and not animatronics, funnily enough. So you spawn in a small office and you can see in front of you a bunch of TVs. This is where your camera system will be. Now, these cameras have 2 different areas that it can look at. It can either be set to building cameras or the vent cameras. But for now, we're only going to focus on the building cameras because the vent holds a little friend that we'll talk about a little later. So the building has 5 different cameras on it, and on some of these cameras you can actually see the robots that we'll be unfortunately dealing with for the next 5 nights in this place. But anyway, let's get back to the office and the actual night ahead of us. You see, this game has a unique win condition. You have to complete all 5 tasks that show up on this management panel. To pull up the management panel, you have to turn around and it'll be at the top of your screen. Completing these tasks are pretty time consuming considering that you have to be on the management panel the entire time you're doing them, or else it'll pause. And this can get a little tricky when the robots are out to get you at the same time. And speaking of the robots, let's actually get to that. So here we are on night 1, and on this night we get introduced to our very first robot, Marcus. This is the robot without legs that starts on camera 4. And eventually, while you're running up the tasks to complete the night, he'll disappear from camera 4 and make his way over to camera 3. From this point, Marcus is ready to attack you. If he disappears again from camera 3, that means he's already in your office and you might be paying that main menu a visit. But to prevent yourself from getting slimed out, when Marcus disappears from camera 3, you have to shock the office. Oh yeah, I may or may not have failed to mention that the management panel also has a shocking feature as well. When you have the management panel open, at the top of your screen, you can see 2 buttons. One for the tasks and the other for shocking. So if we press on the shocking one, we'll be given the option to either shock the vent or the office. So for now, all we have to do is shock the office to prevent us from being jump scared. And that's all night 1 really had to offer us. Just a small one-on-one with Marcus while you get your task done. Now we're here on night 2. And luckily for us, there's of course a new robot for us to deal with. In camera 5, there's a tall robot lying lifeless on this shelf. And this guy is named Shut. Throughout the night, Shut will make his way over to your office. Eventually, he'll land on camera 2 where you can see him break in the doors to the security room. And at this point, all you can do is wait as Shut delivers one of the creepiest greetings I've ever seen in my life. Now, assuming you didn't already close the game like I did on my first playthrough, to get rid of him is the same as Marcus. Just shock the office to send him all the way back to camera 5. But anyway, night 2 is pretty simple once you understand how to beat Shut. So let's waste no more time and head straight into night 3. Now here we are on night 3, and I gotta come clean. I've kind of been withholding a little bit of information. While facing the camera system, at the top of the screen, we can see ventilation. And with this, you can use it to look up into the ventilation system above your head. You can also shine your flashlight down it. And you know what? It just so happens that this information is relevant to the new robot we're dealing with tonight. Also sitting on camera 4 next to Marcus is another small robot named the Homie. And yes, it's pronounced the Homie. And this is the only robot in this game that uses the ventilation system. Now, there's 2 different vent cameras, and the Homie has 2 different ways of attacking you depending on what camera he's on. If you catch him in vent camera 1, then eventually he'll hang down in front of your office window. When he does this, then you have to pop open the management panel and shock the vents. Then that'll reset the Homie back to camera 4. But if you catch him on vent camera 2, then he'll eventually show up in the ventilation system directly above your head. And after you flash him a couple times, that'll send him back to camera 4 as well. Sometimes it did get a little tricky remembering these 2 differences with the cameras, but it's pretty easy to get down. And so night 3 wasn't too much harder than the last 2 nights, so let's move on. Now we're here on night 4 and 5, and on these nights we have our final robot of this game, if you can even call it that. This is Shadow Marcus. Now real quick, I want to take a detour. This game has a gallery that displays all of the characters followed by their own descriptions. So let's read Shadow Marcus's description real quick. His origins are unknown. Neither has the company explained his existence. All we know is that he has hidden powers and is extremely dangerous. And after reading that, you might be thinking that we're facing off against like Prime Trigon or something. But in game, Shadow Marcus will appear on one of the 5 monitors in front of you. And all you have to do is click on the one that he shows up on to get rid of him. So it's not actually as dangerous as they make him seem, thankfully. But what I do want y'all to remember though is that Shadow Marcus is responsible for all of these robots going hostile in the first place. And every night, he's slowly been getting more and more powerful, which is why every night a new robot became active, until eventually he himself became active. But anyways, in this game, Shadow Marcus is super easy to deal with, and after successfully flying through night 4 and 5, we get rewarded with this cutscene. Here you go, what's happening? And there goes our night guard, killed by the hands of this mysterious yellow-eyed robot. Make sure to remember these yellow eyes for later. But with that, I think it's time to finally move on to Five Nights at Marcus 2. Wait. Ah! So let's fast forward a couple years, and the Marcus Robotics factory has officially been abandoned. All of the robots have been transferred over to this warehouse, preparing to be shipped off to a different company. And this warehouse, coincidentally, also needs a night guard. So you already know what timing we on. Let's move. Now we're here in Five Nights at Marcus 2, and this game has a lot to unpack, so bear with me. So we spawn in a room, and in front of us, we can see our camera system and a giant window. We have the ability to shine a flashlight to be able to see through the window. But there's a small problem with that. This flashlight runs on a limited power source, and it drains fast. Also, the flashlight won't charge back up on its own. You have to manually repair it every time you want to charge it. So this game, similarly to the last one, also has a management panel here. And on it, we can see a repair and a shock option. And if we hop on the repair option, we can repair the flashlight system and the shock system. And again, repairing the flashlight is the only way to charge it back to 100%. So unfortunately, we're gonna be stuck in this control panel quite a lot this game. But also similarly to the last game, this game has a unique win condition. Behind us, we can find this shipment terminal. And here's where we have to manage where all this company's cargo goes. To do this, all we have to do is hit the scan button. And after our cargo is scanned, we have to make sure that the information on the left matches the information on the right. If they match, you accept it, and if they don't match, you deny it. You also can't move at all when the cargo is being scanned, so that's always fun. And we have to verify a set amount of cargoes every night to be able to leave. So with that being said, let's move on to night 1. On this night, we're tasked with verifying 12 different cargoes. But you're in a building filled with robots, so it's never gonna be that easy. On this night, we get introduced to Marcus. And this guy looks like he's seen better days for real. But Marcus will start off in camera 4. And he'll slowly make his way through the whole building until he eventually presses you at your front window. At this point, you have to spam your flashlight on him rapidly until he goes away. Then he'll start all the way back in camera 4 where he began. So this night is pretty easy. It's mainly used to get us familiar with the repair systems and, more importantly, the cargo verification process. Because as we go on throughout this game, the cargo requirement will increase, which essentially means that every night will take longer than the last. But this is only night 1, so let's get these cargoes verified and move on to night 2. What? Why is there green stars coming from only the left side? And it's only on the left side. Now we're here on night 2, and on this night we have to verify 13 cargoes this time. And this night turns up the heat a little because we get 2 new robots introduced to us. These are him and Shut. And these two basically have the exact same functionalities. Throughout the night, they'll slowly make their way over to your office window. And each character has their own spot on the window where they'll consistently show up at. Like, him will only appear on the far left side of your window, while Shut will only appear on the far right side. But if you see either of these two at your window, you have to shock your whole office. And this will send them back to their starting positions. If you're not fully paying attention, you might miss them on the window because of where they're positioned and when they show up. Also, in this game, you only have 5 shocks that you can use at a time. And just like with the flashlight, after you run out of shocks, you have to repair the shock system to be able to keep using them. But anyway, as long as you're watching your camera system and keeping track of both Shut and him, then night 2 is a breeze. Now we've made it to night 3. And on this night, the cargo verifications jumped from 13 all the way up to 17. Like, this night took me a whole 11 minutes to complete, by the way. But anyway, on this night, we of course have ourselves a new robot to fight against. And this one is our boy, the homie. He starts off in camera 3, and then he'll hop into camera 2 where you can see him trying to get into the vents. So in this game too, the homie's a little vent gremlin. But once he makes it through the vents, he'll drop out directly in front of your window. And just like Marcus, you have to spam your flashlight on him to make him go away. The game actually specifies this a little more and says you have to shine your flashlight at least 10 times to make them go away. But anyway, the flashlight is not built for this life, and you really have to monitor its battery life. Between flashing Marcus and the homie and needing it to see Shut and him at your window, you need that thing. So after dancing around with the robots for around 11 minutes or so, it's finally time to move on to the next night. Now we've made it to night 4, and the week is almost over, and luckily it doesn't get too much harder from here on out. On this night, we have to verify 18 cargos this time, so the night length isn't too much longer than it was last time. But our last and final active robot tonight is Lanky. Lanky? Now, Lanky is a little slippery. He'll start off in camera 4 with Marcus, and he'll make his way through the building until he eventually reaches camera 5. Now, Lanky's gonna sit in vent camera 1 until he's ready to attack you. But he won't show up in front of your window or anything like the other robots did. And instead, without making any noises, he'll completely disappear from vent 1 and start his attack. All you have to do to stop him is to use your vent shock, which will send him all the way back to where he began in the first place. Now, with the inclusion of Lanky to these nights, it starts to get more difficult to find the time to actually get these cargos verified. And of course, the longer we take to get these done is the longer we have to stay in this building fighting for our life. But anyway, let's move on to night 5, where things get just a little bit harder. And finally, we're on the finale of this game. This night really feels like I'm working a 9 to 5 for real, because there's 20 whole cargos you have to verify on this night. And if you're not being extremely efficient with your time, then this night's gonna take you a while to complete. Now, this game has a lot of downtime in it. Oh, what's that? You use your flashlight twice? Sit in the management panel and repair it. Wait, you're also getting pressed by the whole cast and you shocked one too many times? Sit in the management panel and repair it. And you have to sit there and wait for each cargo to scan too. This isn't necessarily a bad thing as much as I'm complaining about it, because to my knowledge, the robots like to sit there and patiently wait for you to deal with them too. So, I mean, if they in no rush, I'm in no rush either. But anyway, after like 15 minutes or so, we finally completed night 5, and we get rewarded with another cutscene. Now hold up, before I continue, I want to slip this section in real quick, because I don't really know when else to talk about this. Five Nights at Marcus 2 has an extra menu, which is standard for most FNAF games at this point. And in this menu, we can get a closer look at each of the robots' models. Scroll too far though, and you reach this. The music completely cuts off, and your screen slowly gets darker and darker. I don't know who or what this entity is, but it's been in both games so far, lurking and waiting. But anyway, let's cut the music back on and get back to this cutscene. All the robots now get packed into their own cargo container, waiting to get shipped off to that new company. And someone's gotta drive that cargo ship to do that. You're never gonna guess whose job it is. Now we're here on the third and final game in this series, Far From Land. We're playing as a guy named Malcolm, and like I said before, we have to drive this ship that has all of our robot buddies on it. Also, like the last two games, this game has a unique win condition, of course. In this game, we have to move this ship forward a set distance before we can complete a night, or a voyage as this game calls it. The distance is displayed for us on this screen here, and to drive the ship, we have to hold on to the steering wheel. This thing actually works as intended too. Like, if I turn this wheel to the left, the whole ship is going to turn to the left, which is pretty important for dodging the random icebergs that show up in our path. Also, to the left of the steering wheel is a motion detector, and every single time any robot on the ship moves, it'll show up right here. So this motion detector basically replaces the whole camera systems for this game. And finally, for the cockpit, off to the right is your ship stats. Over time, both of these stats will slowly drop all the way down to 0%. And when this happens, the whole ship will stop working until you repair the issue. Okay, so let's turn around now and peep the rest of the ship real fast. In front of us is a massive hallway, and from here you can either run to the left or run to the right. If we choose to run to the right, we'll reach the maintenance room. And here is where we fix all of the ship's issues when they happen. So if one of your ship stats hit 0%, you have to come into the maintenance room. And all you have to do to fix the issue is look around this room and try to find a leaking pipe. And if we hold our mouse over the leaking pipe, then we'll slowly fix it. Okay, I hope y'all got all that because we only just getting started with this game. So now that you know how to work this ship like a professional, it's time we started getting this voyage done. Unfortunately for us though, one of the robots escaped their shipping container. And of course, without fail, it's coming straight for us. The robot on this night is none other than Shut. At some point throughout the voyage, we'll hear Shut walking up in the massive hallway behind us. But in this phase, Shut can't actually kill you, but instead, he'll just stand there thinking he tough. So after engaging in the meanest staring contest of 2026, Shut will actually walk up to us to press us. And I'm talking like get all up in your face type pressing. Like, Shut, you lucky it's not me on that ship because you're not doing that to me. But when he does this, all we have to do is hold our breath until he walks away. Thankfully, Shut is the only robot active on this night. So let's get this ship to its destination and move on to the next voyage. Wait, did I say move on to the next voyage? What I meant to say was you have to complete the ship safety checklist before you can leave for the day. And this takes place on the upper deck of the ship, which funnily enough is completely dark. And every night has this post-voyage checklist that you need to complete. So now we're stuck in the upper deck of this ship, and the game turns into a whole point-and-click adventure. Of course, you're never alone on this ship. The robot that haunts you in this area seems a little bit familiar. I've definitely seen him before. Do these two yellow eyes ring any bells? This is Manta, and this is the same fool who packed off our night guard in the first game. This is what it actually looks like. So in this section, Manta will roam around the upper deck, and we have to listen out for the breathing sound that he makes, which doesn't actually sound like breathing at all, by the way, but whatever. If we hear this breathing, then we have to hold our breath because that means Manta is in the exact same room as us. But when that breathing sound goes away, then it's safe to move and use your flashlight again. So basically, after playing hide and seek with Manta for a little, we can wrap up this checklist and actually move on to the second voyage this time. Now we're finally back in the cockpit driving this ship. And I don't know if you noticed, but this voyage's distance is longer than the last one by 100. So unfortunately, it's gonna take us just a little bit longer to get out of here. Also, according to the motion detector, we seem to have another robot on our hands. This time, it's our boy Marcus. Throughout the voyage, Marcus will slowly make his way towards you. And as you already seen, he can be tracked on the motion detector to know when he's close. Eventually, he'll show up in one of the rooms behind us. So, while facing this hallway, if we look to the left, we can see a dark room with an emergency lever next to it. If we pull that lever, it'll start showering water in that room. And that just so happens to be the room that Marcus likes to show up at. So if the motion detector says that he's in that room, then we have to run over there and give him a quick shower to make him leave. We do have to be mindful with our water usage though. If we return to the cockpit and look over to the right where our ship stats are, we can also see a water pump percentage. And the more you use that shower, the more this percentage drops. But luckily this isn't an issue for us because to refill the water, we just need to pull on this lever that just so happens to be right here. So just be mindful of that water limit and continue to drive the ship. Business as usual. And after reaching the destination for this voyage, we're thrown into a second post-voyage night. Here, we quite literally have to do the exact same thing that we just did for the last post-voyage. It's the same checklist and the same robot after us. And I'm not about to sit up here and repeat myself again. But what I didn't mention before is that every post-voyage night has a secret tape hidden in it. And these tapes basically give you lore and insight to why you're even on the ship in the first place. If you collect all the tapes in this game, you can unlock a whole secret ending. but I'm getting pretty ahead of myself here. Let's just get this checklist done and move on to the next voyage. Back in the cockpit of this ship, and of course the distance for this night is higher than the last. I'm not even surprised at this point. And on this night, we get introduced to our final motion detector robot, that being Grayling. Wait, Grayling? Hold up, ain't that the homie? So yeah, in this game, the dev decided that he hated a bunch of the older robot names and retconned some of them for this game. But since we already covered the other 2 games with those names, for the sake of consistency, this is the homie, okay? And speaking of consistency, this guy's officially 3 for 3 on being stuck in them vents. Eventually though, he'll show up in the maintenance room. And the homie classic at this point, you just need to shine your flashlight on him for him to go away. This voyage is kind of where this game's difficulty starts to show itself, because the homie and Marcus both have the ability to jump scare you while Shut is in your face. So you have to prioritize dealing with these 2 first, because Shut just takes up so much of your time. He can also mask the noises of both Marcus and the homie if you're not paying attention, which I definitely wasn't. What's also neat about this voyage in particular is that once you reach the 1,000 distance mark, the ship will lose its power. And despite this, we still have to complete the mission. It'll just be completely dark as we do so. But gameplay wise, nothing really changes though. So let's finish up this voyage and move on to post 3. Now the crew members decided that I did a good enough job on the upper deck and I don't have to go back there tonight. But of course, our job is never done, so now we have to work on the lower deck. And to get down there, we need to take this elevator, which has actually been there every post night so far. And if we take it down... Oh my god! Why? Yeah, we got an instant introduction to the new robot that lurks down here. This is Marlin, and he's a little bit interesting. While down here, we get access to a wrench. This is because the safety checklist is different for the lower deck, and you need the wrench to be able to fix these water pipe leaks. You also need the wrench to help you defend yourself against Marlin here. And when I say defend yourself, I really mean it. Marlin will randomly drop down from the ceiling in an attempt to put you on a t-shirt. But today, our character decided his hands work because we can actually beat up Marlin with this wrench. It only takes one singular hit to send him running back to where he came from. So other than the task being just a little bit different, and the game straight up breaking itself if you choose to play in 240 FPS, yo, I'm about to lose it with this game. This post night, I would say, is just a little bit easier than the upper deck, mainly because, you know, you can see. But anyway, let's get out of here and head to the next voyage. Now we're on the 4th day at sea. And on this particular voyage, one of the crew members, Mason, hijacks the radio system in order to get in contact with us. And he starts to tell us how this company has secretly hidden a monster on the ship with us. He explains that this mysterious robot has some sort of power to control the other robots and is, quote, extremely dangerous. Almost sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? It sounds exactly like the description used to describe Shadow Marcus. Then Mason proposes that we somehow find a way to destroy all of the robots before they get a chance to kill anyone else. RIP to both of our night guards from the other games. But with that, he leaves us to complete our next voyage. And on this voyage, we get introduced to the 2 final robots of this game, Growler and Scrap. I mean Lanky and him. Lanky actually spawns outside, chilling by the cargoes in front of the ship. And over time, he'll slowly get closer and closer to us until he eventually shatters the front window. And at this point, he'll be posted up here for the rest of the voyage, while disabling all the screens on your ship. So if Lanky gets all the way to your window, you might as well just kiss that run goodbye. But to prevent that from even happening in the first place, all you have to do is blow the ship horn, and that will send him further and further away from the window. And finally, we have him, who probably has the easiest mechanic in the game. If we pop into the maintenance room and we see him there, leave as fast as possible. And as soon as you leave, then he'll disappear and we're fine to go back in. And with that, I think we just about wrapped up everything on Voyage 4. And I think it's time to head into the last post-night section of this game. As we ride the elevator down to the lower deck, we get another radio message from our boy Mason. And in this message, he expresses how worried he was that Shadow Marcus was constantly looking for him. And with that in mind, tell me why his next sentence was, "I'm gonna see it myself." this might be the last of me. And I'm not gonna lie, that just left me there wondering, like, if you know how dangerous it is and you know it's literally looking for you, why would you go and play Macho Man and go see it yourself on your own? Like, obviously you was doing something right because it couldn't find you, right? But whatever, bro just wants to die, I guess. And just like that, we're off to do the post voyage section, which is the exact same as the last post voyage. So again, I'm not gonna waste my time with this one. But while completing the tasks, we can unfortunately hear this blood-curdling scream in the distance. And if you put 2 and 2 together, I think you know what just happened. Shadow Marcus has claimed yet another victim. But these tasks ain't gonna complete themselves, so let's finish these up and move on to the next voyage. Now we're here on the final voyage of the week before reaching our destination. The radio cuts on as usual, but this time it's the other crew members. They apparently hate the awful smell that's coming from the middle deck, and of course wants little old me to investigate it after the voyage. Like, I don't know why I gotta do everything. But anyway, the 5th voyage has nothing that we haven't already covered earlier. And this game is really cool once you get over the scare factor. But since there's nothing really new here, let's skip forward to the end of the voyage where we get a new cutscene. We arrive in the middle deck and all we can see is darkness. Then the mysterious creature emerges from the dark. Shadow Marcus, aka the Kraken. He has a few words to say to us.
Why are you doing this? You think you could just take us away and leave no trace of us? I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. You have made a mistake doing this, and you know that. Malcolm, I already know everything about you. You're just like everyone else I've killed. Weak. Maybe I know why you're even here to begin with. Is it because of your brother? I know you're hurt, and I know you want to take revenge. But you know, deep down, you'll never defeat me. Never come back here. Never tell anyone about this, or else you'll have to face me.
Like, okay, what? Y'all telling me this is what Roblox got going on nowadays? Okay, they are cooking. But essentially, Malcolm's brother that the Kraken was referring to is actually the guy that we played as in the second game, who unfortunately did get packed off by the Kraken. Also gave Malcolm a chance to turn away and leave this all behind him and never come back to the ship. But of course, you know our GOAT would never give up and always stands on business. So with that, we have one final voyage. And I know y'all hear that music I put on, because this night's about to be a banger. Now remember our 3 motion detector robots, Shut, Marcus, and the homie? Great, now throw all that out the window because now you have to throw down with the big Kraken himself. Essentially, Kraken mimics all of the behaviors of the other 3 motion detector robots and amplifies them by 10. When he shows up to your back hall, like Shut usually does, he'll get up in your face too. And when he's here, we have to follow this purple light that he emits with the mouse. Then after a little bit of dancing around with him, he'll go away and try again. If Kraken hops in the vents, then we'll have to shine the flashlight on him, just like the homie. But of course, he doesn't make that easy on us at all.
No, this game is tough.
Now we have to follow all his crazy head movements with our flashlight. And after enough of doing all that, he'll go back to where he started and try again. And finally, for when he mimics Marcus. Actually, for this one, Kraken does the exact same thing that Marcus does. So if he shows up in that one dark room, just shower him for a little and that'll send him back to where he started. Also active on this night are Lanky and him. Him is so easy to deal with that it's not even really worth talking about, but Lanky on the other hand had me stressing. Remember, he needs the ship's horn to be blown to send him back. But if Kraken keeps holding us in these intense 1v1s over and over again, that can't really happen, can it? Also, if we use the horn enough, that thing will just break too, which usually just means another trip to the maintenance room to repair it. Also more time that Lanky gets to approach your window. So all in all, this night was just the right amount of hard, and I had way too much fun doing this. But eventually, after besting Kraken and reaching the set distance, this cutscene plays.
I'm convinced that machines can and will think. I don't mean that machines will behave like men. I don't think for a very long time we're going to have a difficult problem distinguishing a man from a robot. But I think that computers will be doing the things that men do when we say they're thinking. I'm convinced that machines can and will think in our life.
Boom, there goes the ship and everything, including the Kraken. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Five Nights at Marcus. Now, quickly before I wrap everything up, I want to talk about this game's secret ending. In every post-voyage section, like I said earlier, there are these secret tapes that can be found. And they weren't like too hidden, so they weren't too hard to find. And since there's only 4 post-voyage sections, we only had to find 4 tapes. So once we scooped up all the tapes in this game, we're gonna go ahead and head back over to post-voyage 3. And this is the night where you enter the elevator to head to the lower deck for the first time. In this elevator though, we can see that we have access to the middle deck now. And if we press on it, this cutscene plays for us. Oh, okay. Full cutscene action. Now, I'm not 100% certain on what this is, but I'm pretty sure this is a direct setup for what's coming in the next installment of this series. But guys, that was Five Nights at Marcus. My voice is killing me. Like, I didn't even know it was possible for me to speak this long in this voice. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about this game down below, and if you haven't, give it a play because it's honestly so fun. But with all that being said, I'm finally finna bounce. Peace.